In the 5th year of my marriage to Conrad, the girl he was keeping in a hotel was exposed to the world. To shield her from being branded a homewrecker, he came home carrying divorce papers. His explanation felt like a script he had rehearsed. Kathy's father had been his mentor, he said, and had begged Conrad to look after her before passing away. Now that the scandal had erupted, he felt obligated to do something drastic. Kathy had always come first. That never changed. In my previous life, those words destroyed me. I had clung to the marriage with everything I had. I cried, I fought, I refused to sign. My mind spiraled, and when Kathy offhandedly suggested that I only acted depressed, Conrad decided I was faking it. Soon after, he accused me of cheating and filed for divorce himself. That was when I learned the truth. My years of devotion meant nothing compared to his loyalty to a dead man. I ended my own life. But this time, when I opened my eyes and he placed those papers in front of me, I signed without hesitation. I was sitting on a stone bench in the courtyard when Conrad appeared with Kathy beside him. Just hours earlier, gossip sites had splashed pictures of Kathy everywhere, calling her the mistress who had ruined my supposedly flawless marriage. The internet devoured her. His carefully polished image of a faithful husband shattered in an afternoon, and the stock of his company sank almost immediately. In my old life, I had torn up every rose he planted for me when he brought those papers. I had demanded answers about Kathy, desperate to understand. He could have handled the scandal 1,000 different ways, but he chose the one that required sacrificing me. All for the sake of not upsetting Kathy's fragile emotions. What he never knew was that while she was crying online, I had been diagnosed with depression too. Hearing my name pulled me out of the memory. The divorce agreement lay on the table between us. Conrad knelt in front of me, his hands warm around mine, his expression soft. He begged in that gentle voice he always used when he needed something. If I signed, he said, the public would believe that our marriage had already been falling apart. They would claim we had planned to separate months ago. I didn't respond. Behind him, Kathy stood in his jacket over her white dress, her eyes red and puffy, her lips trembling. Please, she whispered. My mother took her own life after being attacked online. I don't want to end up like her. I'll kneel if I have to. I'll beg. She bent her knees, and Conrad rushed to grab her, furious. He gathered her into his arms protectively, as if I had been the one demanding she kneel. Her weak little sob made him snap. His patience vanished as he turned back to me. His earlier tenderness was gone. Autumn, I'm not here to bargain, he said coldly. This is happening. If you refuse, don't blame me when things get ugly. I looked him in the eye, stopping the rest of the threat. I already knew what he meant. In my first life, he had warned me that he had countless ways to force my signature. It wasn't long before I was caught in a hotel bed with several male models, the fabricated evidence ironclad. Overnight, people condemned me, and he and Kathy became victims of my supposed betrayal. This time, I didn't let him finish. I'll sign, I said quietly. But I want one condition. Conrad hesitated when I spoke, then nodded slowly. Anything. He handed me a pen. I signed with steady strokes, not bothering to hide the emptiness in my expression. He frowned. You aren't even going to read it? I gave him a faint smile. There's nothing in there I care about. He had practically given me everything, from the properties to the stocks. It was a clean cut. He didn't do it for me. He did it because giving me the assets made Kathy look better and him look noble. Another payment toward a debt he thought he owed. We'll finalize things at the city hall tomorrow, he said. Fine. He looked unsettled, as if he had expected a fight. When he realized he wasn't getting one, he left with Kathy. As she walked away, she glanced back and mouthed 2 smug words. You lost. She wasn't wrong. I had lost an entire lifetime. That was why I refused to lose this one. A moment later, my phone buzzed nonstop with messages from Conrad. I'm sorry about today, Autumn. When this settles, I'll give you the biggest ceremony. We'll remarry. I can't ignore Kathy's condition getting worse. You understand, right? A sharp laugh escaped me. Dry, humorless. In my last life, Conrad had gotten drunk with his friend Evan while discussing ways to force me into divorce. Evan had called me afterward, trying to soothe things. He told me Conrad was simply a man bound by loyalty, that I should understand where he was coming from. He even reminded me that Kathy's father had invested in Conrad when no one else believed in him. I had cried then, asking why divorce was the only solution. Evan went silent. He had asked Conrad the same thing. Conrad had answered, someone has to get hurt. I have to choose her. Autumn loves me. She'll understand. Because I loved him, I was the sacrifice. Not this time. Conrad wasted no time when it came to Kathy. The moment he had my signature, his team arranged a press conference for that very night. His assistant called to inform me, though inform was generous. Before I could reply, she dropped Conrad's real message. Ms. Thorne, Mr. Hamilton insists on your attendance. He says it will help protect your image. A short, sharp breath escaped me. Another warning. Another attempt to corner me. After years with this man, I finally understood what I had never seen before. To him, I was not a wife. I was a problem to manage. If he wanted clarity, I would give it to him. The conference took place in a lavish ballroom lit like a film set. When Kathy stepped inside on Conrad's arm, dressed in silk and diamonds, the room erupted. Cameras snapped nonstop. Reporters pressed forward until Conrad had to raise a hand to shield her. We'll address everything in a moment, he said smoothly. Please step back. His voice was calm, steady, reassuring. He looked up, scanning the crowd, and for a heartbeat our eyes met. I stood surrounded by reporters of my own. Some pathetic part of me still expected him to come toward me. To offer even a shred of the protection he gave her. He didn't move. His gaze drifted past me, polite and detached, as if I were any other face in the crowd. Still smiling, he escorted Kathy onto the raised platform. A faint smile touched my lips, brittle as dry leaves. A young reporter approached with nervous determination. Miss Thorne, is it true you and Mr. Hamilton are ending your marriage? Yes, I replied, smile widening but hollow. It's true. She pushed her glasses up. You two have known each other since school. You dated for years. You married for 5. Just last month he bought an island and named it after you. He was making up for something he'd missed, I said lightly. He owed me. I didn't mention that he had barely been involved in choosing that island. The reporter swallowed, then whispered the question everyone had really come to hear. Do you still love him? Silence fell. Even the stage went quiet. Conrad had turned toward me, his jaw tight. I held his stare for a moment, then looked back at the young woman. This time my smile was bright for real, free in a way it had never been. No, I said simply. I didn't bother staying until the end. After Conrad delivered his rehearsed speech about our year of quiet separation and his obligation to support his mentor's only daughter, I slipped out. By dawn, I was officially the cast-off. Comment sections overflowed with pity for Kathy and outrage toward me. His fans clung to the narrative he fed them, insisting I had never understood the noble, almost sibling bond between him and Kathy. I became the antagonist in the story of my own marriage. When our divorce papers were processed, Conrad stopped me on the courthouse steps. Don't read the comments, he murmured. People will move on soon. A humorless puff of air escaped me. Both of us were being torn apart online, but our punishments were never equal. Autumn, the holidays are coming, he added. Next year, we can start over. We can remarry. He stepped toward me, but I backed up deliberately. My gaze flicked to the paparazzi hiding behind a nearby vehicle. He noticed and halted. I'm going home, I said. Back to Boston. He nodded quickly. A break will be good for you. I'll fly over and bring you back for the winter celebrations. Then we can talk about. I'm not returning, I said calmly, cutting him off. He froze. Confusion, then unease clouded his features. The promise, I reminded him. You made one, remember? When I signed the papers. His brows drew together as if he had forgotten entirely. I let myself smile, soft and sincere. Conrad, what I want is simple. Promise me you won't come looking for me ever again. Not next year. Not ever. Conrad remained rooted to the sidewalk long after I disappeared into the crowd. A sharp, unfamiliar panic twisted through him. The same dread he'd felt when I calmly signed away our marriage. He had expected rage, tears, something to fight against. But I had been icy still, my expression unreadable, like I had already seen the end coming. It wasn't the Autumn he knew, the woman who once slapped him for forgetting her birthday. He had braced himself for her fury when he first brought up a fake divorce. Instead, she picked up the pen without a word. He had nearly stopped her. Almost. But he told himself it was temporary. Autumn loved him. She would always forgive him. Kathy, however, was different. He had a duty to her. He owed her father his entire career. He had promised to protect her. Evan once asked him a hypothetical question. If both Autumn and Kathy were hanging from a cliff, who would you save? Conrad had laughed easily. Kathy, of course. But I'd die with Autumn. Evan hadn't laughed. And what if Autumn doesn't want to die with you? What if she stops loving you one day? Conrad had brushed it aside. Autumn was loyal, patient, endlessly forgiving. Losing her felt impossible. Until now. For the first time, he understood that she really was gone. That evening, Conrad returned alone to the villa perched on the hillside, the place Autumn had turned into a warm, living space after their wedding. She had been a gifted painter, praised as a prodigy by the time she was 10. Everyone believed she would become a legendary artist. But after their marriage, her work shifted. The vibrancy vanished. Her mentor tried everything to help her recover her spark, but eventually she set the brushes aside completely. Conrad stepped into her old studio and stopped short. On the easel was a new painting, a landscape alive with color and movement. It was unmistakably her, the version of her he had not seen in years. "Sir?" Mrs. Gable said softly from behind him. "When did she do this?" he asked. "The day you brought Miss Vance home," she replied. He nodded, though his throat tightened. He left the studio and went straight to the bedroom he used to share with Autumn. He kept repeating the same excuses in his mind. The divorce was only a temporary measure. Once the media calmed down, he would propose again. He would give her the wedding she always dreamed about. She would come home. Of course she would. That was what he wanted to believe. A quiet knock broke through his thoughts. Kathy stood in the doorway wearing a thin nightdress, her cheeks flushed. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "I got scared alone in the hotel," she whispered, eyes lowered. "I came here. Am I bothering you?" He frowned but said no. "It's late. I'll have Mrs. Gable prepare a guest room." He turned to call the housekeeper, but Kathy stepped deeper into the room. "I don't want to stay in a guest room," she murmured. "Can I stay here?" His expression tightened. He was about to refuse, but then her eyes welled with tears and, as always, his resolve melted. When I landed in Boston, Caleb was already waiting by the gate. When he was 18, he stepped in to protect a girl from an assault, only to be accused of the very crime he stopped. He served 3 years for something he never did, and when he got out, no one wanted to hire him. I first met him at one of my exhibitions, working as a security guard, so withdrawn he hardly made eye contact with anyone. One night, I was assaulted on my way home. He appeared out of nowhere. I had assumed he would keep walking, but he didn't hesitate for even a second. He fought off the attackers. Later, I had asked him, "What if I had turned on you too?" He smiled, weary and resigned. Then that would have been my fate. I used my family's influence to clear his name. When the truth finally came out, he bowed deeply to me from across a crowded street, his eyes red. Even prison had not destroyed the goodness in him. My father, grateful he saved me, gave him a chance at the company. He worked his way up from the bottom until he became my father's most trusted man. "Welcome home, Miss Thorne," he said now, taking my luggage. "It feels good to be back," I replied, my throat tightening. In the last life, he had been away on training when everything happened. I never saw him again. "Are you here for good this time?" he asked. "I'm not leaving," I said. His mouth curved into a small smile. "Your father will be relieved." The memory hit me like a sharp blade. When the news of my divorce spread in our previous life, my father flew to New York immediately. He pleaded with me to come home. "That man has no sense," he said. "He is too proud. Autumn, he is not right for you. Please come back." But I refused. I sobbed and screamed and told him I would rather die than leave Conrad. My breakdown triggered a heart attack. He spent days in the ICU, and my mother's hair whitened almost overnight. After he recovered, he never brought it up again. But I knew I had broken something in him. I spent years trying to force love out of a stone. In the end, it cost me my life to learn the truth. To Conrad, I was never enough to fight for. "How are my parents?" I asked quietly. "They're doing well. The business is strong." "They're both healthy," Caleb answered. I met his steady gaze. "Thank you for everything. For being the child I failed to be." He shook his head. "I just did what I could." The internet kept devouring new rumors. First, Kathy was the other woman. Then, I became the villain. When someone snapped a picture of Caleb and me at the airport, a new story popped up claiming I had been cheating all along. It was almost amusing. My phone vibrated. A new message, sent from an anonymous account. A photo. Kathy, lying in my bedroom at the villa. Conrad asked me to stay over. "I wonder what he'll do tonight. He is finally free now." "Autumn, your husband belongs to Mida." She expected to hurt me. Instead, I felt nothing at all. Caleb placed a cup of tea in front of me. His eyes darkened when he saw my phone screen. "Miss Thorne," he said quietly, "I will make them answer for what they've done." I ignored that and changed the topic. My father has been trying to introduce you to women. Why did you reject all of them? He looked startled. His fingers tapped the edge of the cup. Is it because of me? I asked gently. He flinched. For years, even after we lost contact, I received extravagant birthday gifts from him. Large sums appeared in my account too, almost all of his salary. I begged him to stop. Once, I finally snapped. Caleb, you saved my life once. I helped you once. We're even. Don't send me money. You'll damage my marriage. Conrad will misunderstand. After that, the transfer stopped. The gifts became modest, almost shy. Caleb, you don't owe me anything. I reminded him. That's not it, he said softly. Then what is it? He lifted his eyes. The look he gave me was tender, aching, and full of a love I had refused to acknowledge. I love you, Miss Thorne, he said. I know we're from different worlds. I never expected you to look at me that way. But my heart is yours. I can't pretend otherwise, and I won't deceive anyone else. As he spoke, I studied him. He was my age, yet he carried himself with the calm weight of someone older. The frightened man I once met was gone. In his place stood the person my father trusted most. Last night, my father asked me 2 questions. The first, do you still love Conrad? I said no. The second, I hadn't answered. Would you marry Caleb? He asked. Caleb was loyal, but he was not family. Not yet. Now, as I looked at him, the answer came easily. Caleb, I said, steady and clear. Will you marry me? 2 days later in New York, Conrad sat alone in Autumn's studio, replaying the interview clip over and over. Do you still love Mr. Hamilton? No, I don't. 3 short words, yet every time he heard them, something inside him tightened and cracked. He watched it again, looking for hesitation, for pain, for anything that would contradict her calm smile. There was nothing. He scrolled through their chat history. Their final messages read like a transaction, nothing more. He kept scrolling upward. Once, the conversation had been full of her thoughts, her excitement, her worries. He used to respond. Then the replies became shorter. Okay. Busy. Later. He would tell himself he was overwhelmed. Kathy's father had died. She spiraled into depression, threatening self-harm. He had been pulled between work, grief, and responsibility. He convinced himself Autumn would always understand. A message from Evan interrupted his thoughts. Autumn is marrying Caleb. Conrad jumped to his feet, accidentally tipping over the easel. The painting slid to the floor. When he bent to pick it up, a folded document fell out. His breath caught as he recognized it. A medical report. Patient displays severe emotional strain, recurring suicidal thoughts, disrupted sleep. Diagnosis: moderate depressive disorder. The date was the same day he asked her for a fake divorce. Kathy rushed into the room. Conrad, what happened? She cried, but her eyes flicked toward the paper with something sharp and calculating. Let me see, she whispered. He didn't answer. She lifted the report from his hands and scanned it, then let out a practiced sigh. Oh, Conrad, don't let this scare you. I have depression too. You know how it really looks. I saw her that day. She wasn't depressed. She was fine. She probably faked this to get your attention. She reached out as if to comfort him. He pulled the report from her grasp. When he reached the doorway, he paused. Stop sleeping in the master bedroom, he said coldly. Autumn wouldn't approve. Kathy stared, speechless, as he strode out of the house without even taking his coat. It didn't matter whether the report was fake. It didn't matter that she was marrying another man. Only one thought consumed him now. He had to find her. He had to bring her home. Caleb handled every detail of our wedding himself. He worked all day at the company, then spent his evenings writing each invitation by hand. You should let your assistant handle this, I told him one night. You barely sleep as it is. He looked up with a tired smile. I want to do this properly for you. I know you may not love me yet, but you already have all of me. Something warm flickered inside me, faint but real, a feeling I had not recognized in years. Do not feel pressured, he added gently. Just be the bride you want to be. I smiled and nodded. I never imagined Conrad would track me down to Boston. Caleb and I had just stepped out of the bridal boutique when I saw him across the street, standing beneath a sycamore tree. He looked like a ghost of himself, pale, thin, hair rumpled. His gaze lingered on our joined hands before he forced a smile that barely held together. Autumn, he rasped, I came to take you home. He stepped forward slowly. We do not have to wait. We can go back now, remarry, fix everything. Please. Caleb moved instinctively to shield me, but I caught his sleeve. I straightened his tie and spoke quietly. Wait for me in the car. My mother is cooking her favorite tonight. We will head home together. His expression softened. All right. He threw Conrad a cold, indifferent look and walked away. Once he was gone, Conrad took a step toward me. I countered with a step back. Mr. Hamilton, I said, keeping my voice smooth and distant. We should stay apart. Reporters are everywhere. The last thing I want is more rumors about being unable to let go of my ex-husband. His face crumpled. Autumn, I already had my assistant remove the gossip posts. I did not know how badly it was hurting you. I swear I did not know. You knew, I answered, my voice like ice. If he had not known the damage online attacks caused, he would not have fought so fiercely to shield Kathy from them. In my previous life, after he framed me and our marriage ended, the entire world mocked me. Strangers laughed at my face. How are you still alive after what your husband did to you? They would say. If I were you, I would jump. I stopped sleeping. I burned my studio and everything he had ever given me, as if destroying the evidence would free me from him. In the end, the pain hollowed me out. What I felt as my life slipped away still haunted me. Conrad tried to speak, tried to defend himself, but nothing came. At last he bowed his head. I will make it up to you, Autumn. I almost laughed. I had heard those words for years. After every abandonment, every broken promise, he would whisper the same thing. He believed love could carry anything, that I would always be waiting. He forgot that even devotion has limits. By the end of that past life, I no longer knew whether I loved him or whether I was clinging to something toxic out of habit. You know what, Conrad? I said, my voice quiet but sharp. I kept lowering my expectations, and you still managed to fall short. I was my parents' world. Why did I let you convince me I was worth so little? I will not do it again. Let's end this for good. I turned, but he grabbed my arm as if drowning. No, he choked.
No, Autumn.
You are my wife. You cannot leave me. I slipped free of his hold. We are divorced. You forced it. You threatened me into that press meeting. You watched me walk out of the city hall. You did all of that. You do not get to rewrite it now. He had no answer. As I walked away, a car door slammed behind him. Kathy stepped out. I nodded in her direction. Actually, Mr. Hamilton, you and Miss Vance look very well suited. His skin went gray. He had seen everything. When he reached Boston, he went straight to the bridal shop, only to find her inside with Caleb, smiling in a way he had not seen since the early days of their marriage. Their relationship had long decayed into endless arguments, with Kathy as the unspoken third party haunting every fight. Watching Autumn laugh so freely made him realize the truth. She meant it when she said she did not love him anymore. But he could not survive without her. He had waited outside for hours, trying to calm the urge to storm in, to grab her, to shout that she was still his. But he held back. He was terrified that she would look at him with disgust. Conrad, Kathy's voice interrupted his thoughts. She's been gone a while. He looked at her, drained. Why are you here? I heard she is marrying someone else. I was afraid for you, she whispered, reaching for him. He stopped her hand before it touched him. Her eyes filled with tears. Conrad, she does not want you. But I do. Let's get married. She truly believed that once Autumn was gone, the role of Mrs. Hamilton was hers by default. For the first time, he looked at her with ice in his eyes. Kathy, do you even understand what you're saying? I do, she insisted. I love you. A broken laugh tore out of him, almost a sob. Evan had warned him again and again. The way Kathy looked at him was wrong. The way she inserted herself into their lives was wrong. He should have listened. This mess was his own doing. The physical distance between Boston and New York meant nothing once the story hit the internet. After 3 days of Conrad trying and failing to meet me, Caleb made his move. He forwarded Conrad concrete proof that Kathy had faked her medical records. Then, he released a carefully organized timeline highlighting every instance where Conrad had left me alone to run to Kathy. The pattern was undeniable, a clear trail of neglect and emotional manipulation. Public opinion turned overnight. Kathy became the villain who pretended to be ill and exploited sympathy. Conrad became the spineless husband who sacrificed his wife to keep another woman content. His image collapsed, and his company's stock plummeted. I delivered the final strike. I revealed that Kathy had orchestrated the so-called scandals herself. She had hired the photographers, staged the scenes, and even financed online trolls to smear her own name to gain pity. The internet erupted. Conrad panicked and tried to smuggle Kathy out of the country. But once he saw the new evidence, he snapped. A passerby recorded him confronting her in the middle of the street, shouting, "How could you do this?" before shoving her away in rage. Kathy broke completely. Laughing through tears, she admitted everything. "I wanted to be Mrs. Hamilton. I wanted her gone. But if you had ever really chosen her, Conrad, none of this would have worked." Moments later, he doubled over, blood on his lips, and collapsed. The video spread everywhere. His board removed him by force. And Kathy, disgraced and desperate, tried to escape. She never reached the airport. A collision ended her life before she could run. My wedding day was everything Caleb promised. The city bloomed with flowers. Fireworks lit the night like a celebration made just for us. When a guest joked that Caleb had stolen me away, Caleb had him escorted out without hesitation. Later, during his vows, he announced, "I belong to the Thorne family now, in this life and in whatever comes after." He never pressured me to return his love in full, yet he treated me as if I already did. That night, he held me close, as though one loosened grip might make me slip away. Only then did he tell me the news. Conrad was gone. He had taken his own life. In his final moments of clarity, he had mailed Caleb my original medical report, along with a letter addressed to me. It was pages long, apologetic, rambling, full of regret. He described a nightmare he could not shake, a vision where he framed me for infidelity, forced a divorce, and pushed me to a tragic end. He insisted he had never meant to hurt me, that had he known I was ill, he would never have let things escalate. He wrote about finding me, the blood, the horror of realizing what he had done. He ended the letter with relief that it had only been a dream, and a final apology. I gave a bitter laugh and tossed both the report and the letter into the trash. "Autumn," Caleb said softly, worried. "The woman I used to be was sick," I whispered. "But I am not her anymore." I walked away, and I healed. Caleb studied me, then slowly smiled, warm and certain. I met his gaze and returned it. This time, I had lost nothing. This time, I had won.